Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, friends, let's begin our Dharma discussion. Welcome all of you to the Mindfulness in Buddha's Way program. So today we cover this question, who meditate? Because last week we came up with this question, if there is no self in our mental training, so who is the person direct the mind to the Vedic meditation or to any other meditations? So we will explore about this topic, and also we will learn about the third hindrance to the mindfulness, which is sloth and torpor. Mostly we know that by saying sleepiness. So we will try to understand this according to the Sutta teachings from our Supreme Buddha. So there is a interesting sutta called Atthakari Sutta among the Buddhist teachings. So let's give it a try to understand. Sutta goes like this. Then a certain Brahmin went up to the Buddha and exchanged greetings with him. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, he sat down to one side and said to the Buddha, Ahanghi bo Gautama evam vadi evam ditti, natti attakaro, natti parakaroti. A person came to the Buddha and he exchanged greeting with the Buddha, and then he said this to the Buddha, Mr. Gautama, this is my doctrine and view. The reason why he said Mr. Gautama is because he is from a different sect. So he held a different view about the life. So he came to the Buddha, and ancient India, in the time of the Buddha, there were so many philosophical questions about the life, and there are so many people had different types of doctrines and views about the life. So he said his own view about the life. He said, one does not act of one's own volition, nor does one act of another's volition. Volition means, my friends, our willed action, which means our ability to apply our will over our bodily, verbal, and mental actions. He said he believed that one does not act of one's own volition, one's own willed action. I don't think that there is such a willed action. Nor that I believe one act of another's volition. I don't believe that I act because of another's volition, another's willed action. Literally, this means that he believed there's no any authority over the willed actions. We can't apply our will. We can't think up about a particular action before we execute that. This is my doctrine and this is my view. That is the way that he looked at his life and with the others' lives. Here, volition means willed action. Willed action or volition refers to an action that is performed intentionally and with conscious choice. Before we speak, before we act, we normally think about that. We think, oh, I should go to somewhere, I should go and talk to somebody, I should tell him this and that, or I should travel to that place. So we usually do a kind of reflection, like kind of choice. We make kind of a choice to do those actions. So it is our willed action. We choose what to do through our actions. So that person said, I don't believe that. All willed actions, which means here volition, can bring results as common. Buddha say, whatever you intentionally do by way of body, speech, and mind, they can bring you the results. But the nature of those results depends on the quality of the intentions and choices behind the actions. So every actions has its preceded by intentions and choices, but still we have our willpower or our actions to choose what to do. These actions, according to the Buddha's teachings, they have their own particular result. It is simply what we call karma. This Brahmi said there is no willed action within us. We don't perform actions out of will. They happen naturally or by chance. That's what he can take if he don't understand about the will. He usually fall into the view that it can happen naturally or by chance or in an automatic way or in a robotic way without will over it. It's really strange. There were such views in the Buddhist time. And even we can see some of the people hold this view even in the modern world. And we are not acting according to others. One might think we are not acting according to others. We don't do actions on someone else's prompt. But there are times people ask from us to do something, so we do that. Let's say somebody asks from us to bring a cup of water, so we take and we give it to him. So it is a kind of a time that we prompted by others to do some action. But this person does not believe any of this. This can lead to view, we say it like fatalism, like predetermined. So there's nothing to do about our life. Everything is predetermined in maybe in a previous life or this very life. This view can run to that kind of advanced kind of a way of looking at the life. So, my friends, according to the Buddha's teachings, he said there are two different types of actions: skillful actions and unskillful actions. This is about here the action means the karma. Actions performed with positive intentions, such as kindness, compassion, generosity, lead to beneficial karma. These actions can result in happiness, well-being, and favorable circumstances in the future. And the unskillful side is the action performed with negative intentions, such as greed, hatred, and ignorance, lead to harmful karma. These actions can result in suffering, negative consequences, and unfavorable conditions in the future. Here, the future refers to this very life, or maybe the next life, or somewhere during the rebirth. So it said that these two actions has its own unique results. Now, Buddha say, after listening to his words, Buddha say, Maham Brahmana evam vading evam dittim adda samva asso simma. Brahmin, may I never see or hear of anyone holding such a doctrine or view. He said, may I never see such a person who is having such a view or such a doctrine. May I never hear about that. This means the Buddha's teaching is not about not having a will over our actions. It is not lead us to like total stop of doing good things and abandoning bad things. It is not about actions that happens in us by chance or it happens in automatically. When we say that there is no self, it does not emphasize that we don't have any purpose in our life. We don't have anything to do in our life. So Buddha say, Brahmin, may I never see or hear of anyone holding such a doctrine or view. Buddha say, how on earth can someone who comes and goes on his own say that one does not act of one's own volition, nor does one act of another's volition? Now we see people move forward, they come back, and they do their chores, they do their activities. Buddha asks, how do you say when you see such things, like when you see that people doing actions, how do you say there is no act of one's own volition? Buddha asks, how do you say while you are moving forward and returning that you don't act out of your volition, of your willed action? People have authority to choose their actions, what they need to do. When it said that there is no self, that does not mean that we don't have that will to choose what to do and what not to do. Because it's very clear that first he made the decision to move forward out of his will, the volition, and do that walk. We walk, we talk, and we sit down and we work, drive, sweep. Hence, there is the function of our willed action. We apply our energy to do these actions. In the spiritual path, it is not just willed action, the intention and choices to act, that drives progress, but also the mental energy that sustains and empowers those actions. It is not just making a choice, but there should be some energy to it to keep, sustain, and empowers those actions. Now we talk a little bit about the energy. And in that sutta, Buddha talks about the faculty of energy. We call it virya, or maybe like our mental strength. So Buddha say, even you make a will out of your choice, like you think about doing something and you apply your will and then you execute by your actions. So Buddha say there should be a considerable amount of energy to succeed in that. Energy is what fuels and drives our actions, both mental and physical. If somebody were to say there is no such a will in us, so they don't practice something in their spiritual path because there is no mean of doing that. When we believe that there is no such a will over us, we might not choose what we should do and what we should not do. Mostly it can lead to the inaction. But here Buddha say, even you create such a choice, let's say for an example, you need to meditate. So you create the choice, I should meditate, and your mind might tell you, no, you should not meditate. So your will choose, no, I should meditate. This can be beneficial for me. So then you should apply energy, otherwise you won't succeed in that. For every action we do, there is an intention behind it. When we apply energy, we can succeed in that task. Like walking. First we intend to act, then we apply energy, to continue until we achieve the desired goal in walking. So there is this function of energy. Say you need to pass a test in your studies, you dedicate your time, set aside entertainment, and spend less time with family and friends. You put in your energy to succeed in your studies. So you can pass the test. A considerable amount of energy is applied there. When you set your goal and start studying for a test, let's say for an example, for an exam or for a test, when you set your goal and start that, when you start to achieve your goal, that is the very first moment that you start your energy. It is called initiative energy. When you continue with your studies, if you keep continuing that, it is persistence. When you try really hard, when you increase much more that same energy you started, it's called exertion. And when nothing can stop you, that energy is called strength. When your energy becomes so powerful that you keep going, it's endurance. And finally, energy stops after achieving the goal. So that is the growth, gradual growth of our energy. So we have that power to apply that energy. It is an action started with intention, not just a random result of previous causes in a mechanical chain of events. So we started from my intention, I should really work hard in my studies to pass this exam, pass this test. You create that intention, you create that choice, and you dedicate your life to achieve that goal. And in the meantime, you need constant application of your energy to gradually grow this power to attain the goal. Okay? When we aim to achieve something, we typically apply energy to get the results. Similarly, when we meditate, there needs to be enough mental energy to successfully attain the desired goal, the peace of mind, or maybe the stillness. There are some stages of our energy according to its gradual growth. They are called Arambha Dhatu, element of initiative, Nikkama Dhatu, element of persistence, Parakkama Dhatu, element of exertion, Thama Dhatu, element of strength, Titi Dhatu, element of endurance, Upakkama Dhatu, element of energy. Okay, so there is this growth. What I just wanted to show you is like one side we have will, and from the other side we have energy. We need both of these things. But if somebody reject the idea of that there is a will, if somebody reject that concept, they might not try to achieve something through this energy. They might think there is no self, so there is no purpose of achieving this. To explain this about this energy, mental energy, and its gradual growth, I thought about this airplane simile. This was something that I heard from another Bhante, and I found it really interesting. During the breathing meditation, let's say we need to meditate correctly, we need to achieve stillness. So we need to apply our energy, and as well we need the intention. We need also the will. So, but when a plane, usually when it take up to the sky, there is a gradual process. There is a taxi mode, and then there is a time where that plane enters to the runway, and then in the runway it runs really fast to take off, and then when it take off, so it will go up above the sky until it goes to the destination. So in these stages of this flight, there are some gradual like application of power to the plane. Like when it's in a taxi mode, it only travels in the ground, and then when it enters to this runaway, it will go really fast, and it will stop and it take up into the sky. It stop only after achieving the destination, after reaching to the destination. So the same way, when we apply our energy, there is energy called like initiative, persistence, exertion, strength, endurance, energy. When you complete all of these stages of growth of the energy, your mental energy, so you'll definitely achieve stillness. But for that, we need to start our strength, start our energy, like initiative energy. So now the Buddha asks counter question from that person who said that I don't believe. You remember, like Buddha say, Mr. Gautama, this is my doctrine and view. One does not act of one's own volition, nor does one act of another's volition. Buddha say, how do you say that when you see that you go forward and you come back, you see it's apparent that you choose things to do, but how do you say there is no such a will in you? And Buddha, to explain that, he asked counter questions. What do you think, Brahmin? Is there an element of initiative, which is just spoken? The element of initiative means like starting energy we have. So he asked, what do you think, Brahmin? Is there such an element, initiative? Can you start doing something? So he said, yes, sir. Since this is so, do we find sentient beings who initiate activity? Do you see other people also start to do particular actions? Maybe people start to drive, start to walk, start to make flower bed, or maybe read a book. So there are people we see that they are starting things to do. And we ourselves see that we have this initiative energy. He said, yes, sir. Since there is an element of initiative, since you can start doing things, and sentient beings who initiate activity are found, sentient beings act of their own volition or that of another. By that, you should understand there is a will. That's why they start apply their energy to succeed in their goals. When we start a task, there is potential within us to achieve the goal because of the initiative energy we apply. This shows that we have the capability to direct ourselves towards success. In this respect, one could say there is a sense of agency in our actions. This aligns with the idea that sentient beings possess the capacity to act based on their own intentions, volition, or maybe willed action, or as prompted by others, driven by the initiative energy within them. However, this does not imply a permanent self, but rather the functioning of causes and conditions. We can't command our mind go and achieve this unless we start our energy. We need to increase our energy to be able to succeed in the meditation. But if we believe that there is a permanent self, we won't put our energy. What do you think, Brahmin? Is there an element of persistence? Yes, sir. Can you carry on doing something? Since this is so, do we find sentient beings who have element of persistence? Yes, sir. Since there is an element of persistence, since because people can keep on doing things, you should understand you yourself and sentient beings act of their own volition or that of another. What do you think, Brahmin? Is there an element of exertion? Yes, sir, which means a developed version of energy, element of exertion. Maybe like when the plane is in the runaway, so nobody can stop that when it reaches to the exertion. So they will have like endeavor to achieve their goal. Since this is so, do we find sentient beings who have element of exertion? Yes, sir. Since there is an element of exertion, and sentient beings who have exertion are found, sentient beings act of their own volition or that of another. So as for the other rest of the other elements of energy like strength and endurance and element of energy, upakkama dhatu, so he said, for every question, he said, yes, sir, we see that there is such a development of the energy people have while they are working. It can be spiritual or it can be in ordinary life. Even when we need to study, we need to do a job, definitely we need the energy. So we have the power to increase this energy. Really amazing, Buddha say there is no permanent self. Since this is so, do we find sentient beings who have an element of energy? Yes, sir. Since there is an element of energy and sentient beings who have energy are found, sentient beings act of their own volition or that of another. Sutta say, Brahmin, may I never see or hear of anyone holding such a doctrine or view. How on earth can someone who comes and goes on his own say that one does not act one's own willed action, nor does one act of another's willed action, volition? One does not act of one's own volition, nor does one act of another. Holding this view can lead us to inaction in spiritual life because we might not put our energy. That's why Buddha direct him to understand about the energy. Buddha say, if you know this, you will increase your power and you'll achieve your goal. But by rejecting, we can't achieve that goal because mind itself keep preventing us from achieving that. In Buddhism, actions are carried out not by a permanent, unchanging self, but through the interplay of the conditions and causes. There is no permanent self that directs the actions. So, who directs the mind in meditation? In meditation, the mind is directed to the breath not by a permanent self, but through a combination of mental factors working together. First factor is intention, chetana, which we just listened, the volition, the willed action. The volitional force, intention means the volitional force behind directing the mind. There is an intention to bring awareness to the breath. This intention arises based on causes and conditions, such as the desire to meditate, the teachings one has learned, or the instruction to focus on breath. Those are the intentions. Mindfulness, the second thing. The quality of being aware and attentive. Mindfulness keeps the attention on the breath once the intention has arisen. So we need to make the intention. So my friends, intention, volition, choice, willed action, they all are same meaning. At least in Buddhism, they have like same meaning. So one need to create that intention. When they create that intention to meditate, so their mindfulness keeps attention on the breath. Not only mindfulness, not only intention, but there must be energy, the effort applied to maintain focus and bring the mind back when it wanders. That's why it said when the energy is increased all the more, you can still the mind. Why? Because you prevent wandering of your mind. But we can do this by getting the self-view over our meditation, that I can do this, I should do this, I have full authority, I can start to do this. Why? Because that can block creating its unique own conditions. We must bring up the conditions, the necessary conditions to meditate. So then the person said, "Excellent, Mr. Gautama, excellent. From this day forth, may Mr. Gautama remember me as a lay follower who has gone for refuge for life." So he understood that if I'm getting that view in my life, so I would not increase my energy and I would not practice a good and abandon bad. So I should give up that. So he said, "Remember me as a lay follower who gone for refuge for life." So my friends, let's talk a little bit about the Thinamidda, sloth and torpor. So we learned in our couple of like previous two sessions, two hindrances, sense desire as a hindrance for the mindfulness and ill will as a hindrance for the mindfulness. And the third is the sloth and torpor, which means dullness and drowsiness. Sloth and torpor has a different translation, dullness and drowsiness. This is what we feel when we are going to meditate. We might feel laziness, we might nod, or maybe we might feel so much drowsiness during the meditation. So Buddha said, "Mendicants, I do not see a single thing that gives rise to dullness and drowsiness, or when they have arisen, makes them increase and grow, like discontent, sloth, yawning, sleepiness after eating, and mental sluggishness. In these occasions, if we apply our irrational thinking, careless attention to them, so our drowsiness and dullness, sloth and torpor will increase." That's why he say, "I do not see a single thing gives rise to dullness and drowsiness, or sloth and torpor. When they have arisen, makes them increase and grow. Like yawning, sleepiness, right after having the food, we feel kind of like drowsiness, kind of faint like a feeling. If we apply our mind to that moment irrationally, like carelessly, it can increase our drowsiness, it can increase our sloth and torpor, because these are like bound. Like right after we seeing sleepiness after eating, we apply, "Oh, I'm tired. I should take a rest. I should not meditate. It's better to have a sleep." So then we sleep, and then the drowsiness increases. Even the yawning, when we yawn, if we think, "Oh, this is not good time to meditate. See, I'm yawning. I feel sleepy." So that's irrational application. That's the careless attention for these occasions, these moments. So the drowsiness increases. We will talk about this in our later sessions, especially about mental sluggishness. Mental sluggishness means, friends, it is the mind which is contracted. We can't lift our mind or apply to any particular thing when the mind is sluggish. It is very limited. Our mind is kind of a sluggish, like dark. In such a moment, we can't do anything. All we want is to sleep. When we are going to read a book, we can't do that. When we are going to have a walk, or maybe talk with somebody, or maybe do a meditation, we won't succeed with that as long as we have sluggishness, because it's the contraction of the mind. The mind is not ready to do anything. The mental sluggishness. When somebody apply irrational thinking or careless attention to this occasion, when the mind is sluggish, sloth and torpor, or the drowsiness or dullness increases all the more. But how to give up this? There is still no self involved in this. We need to bring up the conditions. Mendicants, I do not see a single thing that prevents dullness and drowsiness from arising, or when they have arisen, give them up like the elements of initiative, element of persistent, and element of exertion. we learned this about the simile of the plane and also the simile about the studies. So there is no any other way to break the sleepiness, drowsiness, sloth and torpor other than starting to do the meditation and keep carrying on the persistence of the meditation and exertion, like so much increased powerful energy. Other than that, there's no any other way to give up drowsiness and dullness. Even for work in our usual, our ordinary life, if we need to successfully, let's say, gain wealth, when we need to gain wealth, we need to start doing the work, maybe our job. We need to start that. That is the initiative energy. And we need to carry on that. If we stop that, we won't gain the wealth, our desired value that we need out from the job. And also we should have the exertion. We should increase this. And that's how we will not sleep. We don't care about the sloth, yawning, sleepiness after meal, or mental sluggishness when we have a strong energy in our regular life, even in our jobs and occupations. When we have energy, we can achieve easily. The people who successfully became rich and also maybe in their ordinary life or maybe in their meditation, people who became rich were the people who applied their powerful energy, their strong energy to achieve that. So in this respect, there is a agency of self to attain these because everything is conditioned. So when we create conditions, we can achieve this. When you are energetic, dullness and drowsiness do not arise. If they have already arisen, they are given up. If you are energetic. Okay, thank you, Prince.